Audi A6 2-litre TDI, and this particular model had multiple issues. In this video I'm going to be speaking about the overboost issue that it had. Now I'm just shining down on an area here where I'm after removing the exhaust manifold and turbo, and I have it put up on the bench. But before I go over to the turbo, I just want to explain what was happening with this. So it was basically erratic idle at times, cutting out, and then to add on top of that is loss of power. Then the power would come back. It was kicking into limp home mode, and then once you cleared the fault codes you could get back to driving in. Heavy smoke, and when it heated up it might back off again. But one of the faults that stopped the erratic idle and that was airflow issue, which I've now sorted, and now the overboost is the other one. So P0234, this vehicle is overboosting, and the overboosting is causing it to kick into limp home mode. So when it goes into limp home mode you have no turbo active, and in this one it is limiting to 3000 revs and absolutely dead all the way through the gears. You could drop it and it still wouldn't have any acceleration as you want to overtake or speed up. So I'm just going to go over now and show you the turbo taken out. So just here, this is the turbo. It's a Garrett turbo that's in this, and down here is the wastegate, and just here is the actuator arm coming up from the wastegate. I changed position in the vise there because I wanted to remove the exhaust manifold, and I just have the last nut taken out there. So that separates, that comes up, and then you have your turbo left. Okay, so overboosting in this 2-litre TDI, items that can cause it. So of course you have the turbo that can cause it. You also have a boost pressure sensor that can cause it, and there is also a solenoid valve or electro valve, also called a boost pressure solenoid. I think it's N75. It has a few different names in the different models. That can also be faulty as well. I will be detaching the wastegate from the turbo itself, and if you look down in this position here, that is slotted across, so this arm slides onto that and is held on by a pin. Take out, or like by a circlip, so I'll take out that circlip and pop that back. I also want to see how free this part of it is here. When that's removed, this should be nice and free. There shouldn't be much restriction on it. Checks you can do with a turbo without stripping them down are as follows. You can just check to see that everything spins freely and that nothing has seized up. So that's the very simple check on that side. And then on the other side, like you can see there, also if you put your fingers in and pull on it to see if there's any play, if anything has got loose on the shaft or if there's any wear on that, and that seems fine. I'm suspecting the issue with this is the internal side, and it's the variable vanes that's giving the problem with this of overboosting. With that said, I am now going to do a little strip down of that, and afterwards I'm going to do an inspection of the variable vanes. I'm about to start stripping down this turbo now so I can do some cleaning on the variable vanes. So this circlip here needs to be removed. I'm going to put on a light. that clip needs to be removed, and we want to pull this actuator arm out. We have the actuator nuts here that need to be removed, and then down here we have these bolts that need to be taken out to take the bracket off as well, but it'll be first that, then those, take the actuator out, and then I'll remove that. Once you have that removed, you will have access to the bracket. Now you need to be very cautious when removing all these components. You want to have a good layout, so I have my magnetic tray over there. I also, when I remove this, I'm going to bring it over to the bench and have it laid out stage by stage. There is a lot of loose items inside that, should you disassemble it the wrong way and they fall apart, you really want to know how to put it back together again. So I'd say take your time with this, be nice and cautious, do it stage by stage and lay out everything as nice as you possibly can in the space you have. So I'm going to remove this bracket here now, and then I'm going to disassemble this part of the turbo. That bracket is now removed, and when you have those removed, you should be able to move this nice and freely. But as you can see in this one, it's very stiff. It doesn't really want to move at all. So there is a considerable amount of carbon buildup in there, which is stopping that opening as freely as it should be. So we are in the right area for sure, and we just need to continue on and strip it down so we can give it a good clean. There are external methods without stripping them down. They can't be as good as going the deeper route, because you can't visibly see what carbon is on it or what cleaning you have done. It is a far easier process, but like I said, you don't know the levels of the clean and you don't know how long it'll last. When you do it this way and you strip them all down, you have a good idea that's a long lasting fix. So that is why we do it this way. So next up is removing this part of the turbo here and stripping that down. This top section is now removed, and when that is coming off, be cautious when you're lifting, because there is this little seal that sits around there, and if you are reusing it, if you pull too hard, you can rip that. So that's now removed, and this side you'll find doesn't get that dirty, but I always clean it out as well. So it's not bad. All the main issues is going to be in this side. So the next bit is to remove these bolts around here. So you got that one, and that one. I've ran some lubrication all the way around. This is going to be extremely tight in the housing here, so I may have to tap going around the different areas and try and free it out. Try and be as gentle as you can if you are doing this, and break it away from the seal without any excessive force. Just starting to move on me now. I had to hit a few taps on the inside and on the outside to free it, and there we have it. So that is the area, and you can see the carbon buildup already on that section. I'll put that to the side and we'll get a look in here. So as you can see, it is well clogged up with soot, and it has all the variable veins blocked up. So the next stage is, you can do it either two ways. You can completely strip it down. So these rollers here, let's see if I can zoom in on this a bit better. These rollers here can be, let me get a pin. So you can remove these rollers here, which are a guide to this. But this thing is completely seized, completely locked. It hasn't moved properly in a while, I'd say. This is going to need a complete strip down and clean to try and free this out. But the first thing I'll do is I'm going to spray cleaner. So I have carbon cleaner, EGR cleaner, and I'm going to dose that, probably come back 10 or 15 minutes later and hit it again and start to soften all that carbon off that. I have done a good few rounds of cleaning now, just to take off that initial heavy amount that's on it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start to disassemble this completely. So this area here, that will be removed. See these rollers? They will be taken out, and then I will have to lift. As you can see, there's screws in there, there's torque screws that gets into the inner part of the vanes in there. So I lift this up here. You need to be very cautious when doing this. And if you want to look down here, see that pin location? That's where this notch goes back to when you're putting it back together. So I'm going to lift this off its seat, take those rollers out as well, and start to clean the inner part of that. Then I'm going to take out the Torx and clean the inside of it. I have them T25s now removed, and when you lift this off its seat, lift that up there, you can see the root cause of the problem. So all them vanes are being restricted from movement due to carbon buildup, and in there as well. So I need to give this a good deep cleaning, and then it's ready for fit back together again. But this is going to take a considerable amount of time to clean up, but afterwards they will all be moving freely and have no restriction whatsoever. Now you can really see how clean it should be. I have all that area carbon all taken off that, so that's now looking real good. And then this item here, all of them are loose, so that's how easy they should move. They should swing so free, and there should be no issue or restriction. So that's ready to go back in. There is 3 washers that sit over them, and it's ready for fit back. Let me just shut the light on so you can see the difference if you want to go back and look at the start of the video comparing to what it looks like now, and the freeness of the vanes and how they move. That's what it needs to be to make sure that your turbo is functioning correctly. So it is time to start fitting it all back together again. I do have one more item. I need to do a bit of cleaning on this, but that will be a lot easier. There's nothing too major on that, so I'll do a bit of cleaning on that and fit back then. I've seated it back in position, and I have the T25s all torqued up, and now you can see just how free all of these really are. If you compare that, what it was like when I was taking them out, to how easy they free out now. And that is what you need before you would be happy to fit it all back together. So they're all free and moving now, and I'm going to put back on the clips and the rollers on it now in a second. I have the rollers back in, and I have them all seated down around like they should be. It's like a little jigsaw puzzle that you have to put back together, but now it is. Everything is moving as it should be. I don't know if you can see that there. It's nice and free, and that's exactly what we want it to be. I now have that seated back in, and these 10mm bolts put back down. So if you look in here, the difference in the actual movement, it's so free, the vanes are moving so easy, and that's the way they should be. So we're on the home straight with this one now, putting the seal back down, and the aluminium part, which is over here, is the next stage. It's all put back together now. Actuator is on, arm is attached, and circlip is put back in, and it is lovely and free. So this has been very successful. I'm very happy with it. Just going over it again, you've got to take loads of time cleaning, make sure that you have everything laid out when you disassemble it. If you were to lose any of the rollers or washers or something, they aren't items that you can just go in and pick up. So if you're not very careful, you could basically finish the job by not being able to put it back together correctly again. So what I would say is take your time and make sure everything goes back like it should if you do get involved in this job. That is it. The next time you see this, it will be back in the car, and I will be bringing it for a test drive. I'm going to start to refit everything back together, starting with putting this onto the exhaust manifold. So we will check in with you later. And as you can see from that clip, the vehicle is now driving beautifully. We have got a full range of power in the lower and high parts of the revs, so the turbo is functioning as it should. I also plugged it back in, checked for fault codes, and nothing has been logged. We have got rid of that smoke issue that was coming out the back, and now this vehicle is back to running like it should have been. If you like this video, please make sure you smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.